This presentation is on the elements of dance. Dance has been practiced since ancient times. In fact, we know it was at the very root of Greek theater. Yet, like music, dance is ephemeral. We don't have a lot of physical evidence of what dance was like until about the 17th century. At that time in France, a way of notating choreography was developed, and so from that time forward, we can recreate some historical dances. But dance is essentially an ephemeral art. It exists in time, and that's part of what it gives it its immediacy. Hopefully, when you go to your live dance event, you will really feel the energy that is in a room where a live dance performance is happening. This slide shows 5 elements that a choreographer manipulates when he or she creates a dance. So the choreography is the planned dance, which includes all these 5 elements. The choreographer is the person who creates that dance. These vocabulary words are drawn partly from, or largely from, a handout from the ballet company in Austin, Texas. It is posted on D2L for you. You need to look at it because it expands this vocabulary even further and gives you more words, more descriptive words to choose from when you're writing about dance. So it's a valuable resource in that way. Shape refers primarily to the lines that the dancer's body makes, or if there are many dancers, the lines that their bodies make. An example that you'll see in the next presentation, where we go through genres of dance, is ballet. In ballet, the shape of the dancer's body is graceful, it's elongated. The women dancers even wear toe shoes to elongate the shape even further. In the modern dance piece, you'll see that the shapes and motions are more angular, more detached. So that's one thing that a choreographer pays a lot of attention to when he's creating his dance or she is creating her dance. This idea of shape can also refer to the shape of a group on stage. In other words, dancers could be dancing in a circle or a line, and of course that can change as the dance progresses. Space refers to where a dancer's body or the dancer's bodies are in space. There are 2 main ways to think about this. One is the level of the dancer. In other words, are they close to the floor? Are they having or are they high up in the visual space? So a dancer could be lying on the ground and really completely in contact with the floor, or it could be leaping in the air or reaching skyward. Dancers often think about how do you use space and how do you relate to the floor. Do you try to lift off from the floor, or do you actually interact with the floor? So that idea of level is very important. Another way that space is used is, of course, whether the dancer is closer to the audience or if they're to the left or the right of the stage, and how the stage, the space of the stage, is being used. Other ways that dancers interact with space would include focus. A dancer could be gazing skyward, or could be, curled and inward, and those would give really different feelings. Direction or pathway refers to how the dancer is moving around the stage, whether they're on the outskirts of the stage or staying in the center. Sometimes you'll see someone doing almost like passes that gymnasts do, where they would come across the stage and then exit in the wings. Formation would just refer to the spacing between the dancers on stage. Motion or action is a key element for a choreographer. That would include locomotor movements, in which you're taking yourself across the stage, walking, skipping, jumping. Or you can think of non-locomotor movements, where you might be staying in one place, yet still dancing. So you could imagine doing a plie or arm gestures where you're not necessarily moving. The third item on this slide refers to the different characters of motion. Focusing in on this can help you understand and describe a dance. You can think of whether it's a swinging motion, a pulling motion, a pounding motion, a jabbing motion. These all can be ways of being expressive in a dance. The last two items kind of go together in that they are other kinds of gestures a dancer can do. A pantomime, you can almost call that a human gesture. In other words, it's something that we recognize as part of life outside of the dance. I think most people would recognize blowing a kiss or pointing at someone or holding your hands palm up as if, begging for something. So pantomime has a place, especially in narrative ballets, where there's a story being told, but it can occur in any genre of dance. An abstract motion is one that doesn't have an outside meaning. It's simply an expression that the choreographer and dancer are using in the piece that you're watching. Time often refers to music in dance because oftentimes there's music accompanying dance. The main way that time relates to dance would be rhythm. The rhythm can be regular and predictable, it could be syncopated, or it could be very complex. There's one example on the following presentation, well actually two, the gumboot dancing from South Africa and also the stepping from the United States, where the rhythm is actually quite complex. There's lots of polyrhythms and mixed meters. Also, the rhythm in those examples is generated by the dancers themselves. They use their bodies or the floor as their instruments. So there's not actually an external accompaniment. Another element that a choreographer considers is tempo, how slow or fast the music or the time would be. You can also think about whether the tempo remains the same throughout, or if it changes. It could change gradually getting faster or slower, or it could change in sections. There could be a fast section followed by a slow section. The last item I'll give you to think about for time is meter. So meter, just as in music, could be grouped in two, like a polka, or maybe it's going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, in a triple meter, like a waltz. The last item that we'll think about is energy. This might be a little harder to explain, but if you think about the fact that dancers are in a way actors, they're trying to convey a feeling or an emotion, sometimes a story, then the energy with which actions are performed, you realize that's actually a very crucial element. We'll think about it in two ways. In force, the force that a dancer uses might be described in a spectrum of light to strong. So the examples I've got here for you are a ballerina who might make a great effort in doing a pirouette to seem weightless, or referring back to the idea of the gumboot dancing that you'll see in the next presentation, the force of the actions can actually be so strong that it becomes percussive, like a drum. And then flow is sort of, you could think of that as being on a spectrum of controlled to uncontrolled, or bound or rigid to free. So the example I've got here is to think about how you hold your body when you're marching versus how you would let your arms swing when you're skipping. So a march is more bound or controlled, and skipping is more free or uncontrolled. The last slide that I have here is a little bit of background, sort of a study aid for you as you read the Martha Graham reading assignment that's posted on D2L. She has a beautiful perspective on what dance is and what it means to be a dancer. And these are just some of the aspects that she touches on that I'd like you to make sure to pay attention to as you read.